following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. We are back. Canna Chat in the Zone. I'm Ralph Zig Tyko, and I'm in Alameda, California, on the West Coast. I'm kind of a 420 activist, and I thought it would be fun to talk to a 420 activist from the East Coast, Chandra Batra.
Hi, this is Chandra. How are you?
Yeah, Chandra. I guess I left out the R. But I'll do better on the next introduction. I promise you that. Nice to speak to you. You're from Boston, am I correct?
Yes, I am. I'm from Cambridge, actually, which is on the other side of the river.
Okay. Well, I'd like to get to know you a little bit by asking you. I'll talk about your music. What did you grow up listening to?
Grew up listening to a lot of really strange, wonderful music. My mother was a fashion designer in New York, and the very first musicians I ever knew were members of the Velvet Underground. Lou Reed was my fairy god uncle.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I grew up
cool.
listening. Yeah, I grew up in the punk scene in New York in the 70s and 80s.
Okay. How did you get to Boston?
I got to Boston when my mom died, and my dad got a job here in 1988 as senior systems analyst for the city, the computer department, for City Hall. He was an MIS person, so he got here as a programmer. Okay.
How'd you get interested in pot? What was your first experience with pot? Pot, weed, I don't know, boo, whatever you want to call it.
My first experience with weed was the fact that my stepfather was a grower in California in the 70s. When he got back from Vietnam, he decided to become an underground caregiver because at the time people didn't know what was causing people to go nuts. They only knew that cannabis helped a lot of people.
Okay. Did he serve time? You say he served time overseas, and he recovering
he went
from
to
some
Vietnam.
sort of trauma?
Yeah, he went to Vietnam in '68 before the fall of Nanking. I think that's right, but I think I might be pronouncing that wrong. But he was there. He was there before the fall of Saigon, and he had been stationed there for about 3 years. He had become a prisoner of war for a part of it. So nobody knew. Yeah, so nobody knew like where he actually was because he was actually an intelligence officer.
How did cannabis help him recover from the trauma he experienced?
It helped him to recover a lot of it. He was kept in a cage for about 6 months, and he had lost partial use of his right hand.
Oh.
And cannabis was one of the few remedies that he knew, was one of the few medicines that he knew of as an herbal healer, because he and my mom were like really interesting people. My parents were part of a magical group called the OTO, and my mom had come from the Voodoo tradition. We had family down south who were root workers, and it was one of the herbs that everybody knew actually could help you if you actually got yourself hurt in a bad way. So he started growing weed when he got back.
You never experienced a time in your life when it was looked upon by your peers or by your family as a negative thing. Am I correct?
I experienced, people outside of my family weren't as pot aware, and I've experienced a lot of discrimination from other people. I was also born with a bunch of multiple disabilities, including I have fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, but when I was born, I couldn't walk until I was about 3 years old because I had to wear braces on my legs. And Yeah, and my parents were willing to do anything to actually keep me walking, keep me moving, and to take care of my health. So I never got crap from people inside of my family, but we got a lot of crap from doctors and from people who thought they knew better. It's like, and who didn't know anything. It's like my dad's answer to doctors who gave me crap when I was finally diagnosed at the age of 19 with actually having fibro after surviving all I did as a kid was like, okay, so fine, give Chandra a better answer. That was my daddy's answer always to any of the pain specialists and any of like all the specialists that I had to see as a kid and as a teenager dealing with chronic fatigue as well as fibro. It's like, all right, fine. You don't want my daughter to be it, because I'd also survived being a junkie when I was a teenager. So my dad was like, yes, fine. Well, I'm not making my daughter a junkie. You find better answer. He was from India, so it's like, he was like, you find better answer. We had no better answer. You leave daughter alone. There you go. That was Dad's basic attitude towards most of that. It's like, you leave my daughter alone. She's not on all your stupid big pharma pills, and she's doing fine.
All right. That's good positive feedback from your dad, and I'm glad he was able to help you, and I'm glad cannabis is helped in your recovery from your problems. What do you do as you consider yourself an activist? What do you do on a regular basis to pass the word about cannabis in your community?
I admin a lot of my activism, because of my physical limitations, has been online. I was one of the founding members of Mass Patients Advocacy Alliance that won the right to medical cannabis in 2011, and I've been part of MassCan since I was 18. And we got legalization in Massachusetts in 2016 from all the hard work, including me walking up and down streets with my not so good legs to try to get these laws passed. So
you're what they call a gamer. You come up big when it's important. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, doing a good job. If you had to say one thing to folks about cannabis, what would it be?
I would say, if I was to say one thing, I would say that we need to restore cannabis to the physician formulary. We need to get rid of Schedule 1, and we need to have the right to do more medical research. The research
for those of you who are listening, you hit on something very, very important. Cannabis is listed by the federal government as a Schedule 1 drug. Am I correct?
Right.
And that puts it right up there with heroin. Hey,
and
folks, it's an herb. It's an herb, and it's a healing herb. And it was brought about it came about that it came into prohibition because people were afraid. And you could go look it all up, but it comes down to people were afraid. And it's an extension of prejudice. It's an extension of racism and prejudice. We're not going to go into it all, why it is and why a musician would a black musician smoking a joint outside of a club could get him in prison for 20 years. So it's a crazy world. It's changed. In California, they have legalized it recreationally, finally, after it was legal medically. Well, guess what, folks? It's all medical. It is all medical. But that aside, with legalization has come a lot of restrictions, taxes, this, that, and the other thing. I wish personally that they would have decriminalized it not necessarily legalized it.
I wish that they had chosen to. There were 3 groups going after legalization in California in 2016. I was part of CCHI, which was a different group that was looking to make legalization equitable for all people, including the legacy farmers, including people like my stepfather, if he had still been alive. You know, people didn't. Over 100,000 farms closed. California has lost all of its patient cooperatives and patient care centers, and we had to fight for SB 34 just to restore the right to give away weed to people who are dying. Could you think that there are people like Sean Parker who thought that they could step up and make this a money game, and for who? It didn't benefit the patients. It never benefited any of the legacy growers, and it doesn't benefit anyone except if your last name might be something like Trump or Bezos or you know, or frigging someone like Aaron Justice. It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the legalization I fought for, and this isn't what anyone would have fought for, and it's damning to know that a whole state right now is still reeling from the effects of losing parts of Prop 215 to moneyed interest. Patients deserve better.
Yes, they do. And that's what it's all about, is making people feel better and just so they could survive in this world pain-free. You know what that means to folks? Wow. And it doesn't have to be physical pain. It could be mental pain. And I'm real happy to get to know you this way, and I hope you'll come back and visit with us periodically, and continue to be an example to young people, because I'm an old guy, and we need people that are young to carry it out and to see it through. I thank you for your company, and I thank you for what you're doing as an activist.
Thank you so much.
Okay, anything you'd like to close with? Anything that you'd like to have the last word on? Where can people reach you? I'll ask you that.
You can find me on Facebook. It's my name right now, which is Chandra Batra, but I also am an admin for 420 People. So if you go on 420 People or 420 People Activist or 420 People Grower, I'll actually see your links and add you to our group.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chandra, and happy trails. How about that?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. This is a pleasure for me to do, and please give feedback either on YouTube, where all of our episodes, offerings are archived, or on my site on Facebook, or on Comfortably Zoned website, comfortablyzonedradio.com. Be well, everybody, and I'll be back at you when I get to you. You'll be ready. Thanks a lot. Happy trails.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices, and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.